Imagine you're a doctor, trying to balance a patient's complex health issues with a growing list of medications. How do you make sure one essential drug isn't, dangerously interacting with another? This huge unseen challenge healthcare professionals deal with every single day. Today, we're doing a deep dive into exactly that, the critical world of drug interactions, and where artificial intelligence might fit in. Our mission is to unpack a really fascinating new study. It put a well-known AI, Chat GPT, basically head-to-head against the systems doctors and pharmacists rely on right now to spot potential drug interactions. We want to give you the facts so you can really understand what AI can do in this vital area today, and just as importantly, what it can't do yet, its limitations. Our main source here is a study from ClinPharma and Therapeutics published in 2025. It's called Chat GPT versus Clinical Decision Support Systems in the Analysis of Drug Interactions by Thorsten Bischoff and his team. Okay, so let's unpack this. Why is analyzing these potential drug interactions, or pDDIs, why is that such a persistent headache for clinicians?
Well, it's getting incredibly complex. I mean, for starters, there's just a constantly growing number of drugs available. More options, more potential problems.
Right.
And then you have this trend of polypharmacy. That's where patients are on long-term treatment with 5 or more different active ingredients. It's becoming much more common.
5 or more? Wow.
Right, exactly. Plus, with an aging population, many people have multiple health conditions, multi-morbidity. So their medication list can get incredibly complicated really fast.
Okay, so it's a complex web.
Absolutely. And what's fascinating, or maybe concerning, is that the current standard method involves healthcare professionals spending a lot of time using multiple clinical decision support systems, CDSSs, things like MediQ, Lexicomp, Micromedex.
These are the established tools.
They are. But even these established systems, they have known limitations.
Limitations, that seems counterintuitive. What kind of pain points are we talking about?
Well, a big one is alert fatigue.
Alert fatigue.
Yeah, clinicians can just get bombarded with alerts from these systems. And the problem is, many, maybe most of them, turn out to be not clinically relevant in that specific patient's case.
So they start tuning them out.
Precisely. There's a real danger they might overlook a truly important interaction because it's buried in all the noise.
I see.
And another major issue is variability. Different CDSS can actually give you inconsistent results. They might flag different numbers of interactions or grade the severity differently.
So a doctor might get conflicting advice depending on the tool they use.
They might. Which means they often have to cross-reference several databases just to be sure. It takes time. And, well, it introduces more chances for things to be missed. Even our best tools aren't perfect.
Okay, so it's a tough challenge, even with the current standard systems. And that context makes the idea of using something like ChatGPT pretty interesting, right? Could AI offer a more efficient, maybe more user-friendly way?
That was exactly the question this study wanted to tackle. Could an LLM like ChatGPT be a practical alternative?
So it's AI versus the established systems. How did they actually set up this comparison?
The study aims specifically to check ChatGPT's practical use for analyzing pDDIs, look at its recommendations for managing medications, and really map out its strengths and, importantly, its weaknesses for actual clinical use.
Okay, so how did the methodology work? Who was involved?
They looked at 30 patients, all experiencing polypharmacy, who had a pDDI analysis done between late 2022 and mid-2023 at an outpatient clinic in Vienna.
And the comparison?
They used 2 approaches. First, the standard method, analyze the patient's meds using those established CDSSS, MediQ, Lexicomp, Micromedex, plus an extra tool, Credible Meds, specifically for QTc prolongation risk, which is a heart rhythm issue.
Got it, standard practice.
Then the ChatGPT approach, they used ChatGPT 4.0, giving it specific prompts like, please perform an analysis of DDIs, including severity grading. They also asked about specific side effects patients had mentioned.
Okay, so you have the outputs from both methods. Then what?
And this is crucial. A multidisciplinary team, experienced clinical pharmacologists and pharmacists, reviewed everything for both the standard systems and ChatGPT.
So humans were the final judge.
Absolutely. They decided what was actually clinically relevant. They assigned severity grades, contraindicated, severe or moderate, looking at the whole picture, patient data, symptoms, how the drug was given, and the system outputs. They filtered the signal from the noise.
That expert review sounds key.
It really is. And they did one more thing, and they repeated the exact same queries in ChatGPT later just to see if it gave consistent answers.
Sure.
Sort of quality control check on the AI itself.
Okay, the stage is set. What did they find? Let's get into the numbers. How did ChatGPT actually stack up?
Right. Let's look at the raw output first before the expert filter.
Perfect.
The three standard CDSSs, Lexicomp, MediQ, Micromedex, together flagged a total of 1954 potential DDIs.
Wow, almost 2,000.
Yeah, and you see that variability right there. Lexicomp found 601, MediQ found 986, Micromedex 337. Big differences.
Definitely shows that inconsistency you mentioned earlier. And Chat GPT.
Chat GPT, in its first pass, reported 418 potential DDIs.
Okay, significantly fewer than the standard systems combined. But what about clinically relevant ones, the ones the experts agreed actually mattered?
Exactly, that's the critical comparison. Using the standard CDSSs, the expert team identified 280 clinically relevant pDDIs. That broke down into 3 contraindicated, 13 severe, and 264 moderate.
280 that mattered. And using Chat GPT.
Using Chat GPT's output, the expert team found only 80 clinically relevant pDDIs. That was 2 contraindicated, 5 severe, and 73 moderate.
80. So 280 versus 80. It's a
Yeah.
pretty stark difference. More than 3 times fewer relevant interactions found by Chat GPT.
It is a significant difference.
Yeah.
And the study confirmed it was statistically significant, especially when they weighted the interactions by severity, giving more points for contraindicated or severe ones.
How did that play out across the patients?
In 22 out of the 30 patients, ChatGPT simply identified fewer relevant pDDIs than the standard method after expert review.
And the other 8?
In the 8 cases where the analyses didn't really differ, well, 5 of those patients had no relevant pDDIs identified by either method, and the other 3 only had a single moderate pDDI found by both. So in those very low-risk cases, ChatGPT didn't miss anything, but overall, yeah, a clear pattern of underdetection.
This is where it starts to get really concerning for thinking about using this in a clinic, right? What were the major red flags?
The biggest one, the most alarming difference, was related to QTC prolongation.
That heart rhythm issue you mentioned.
Exactly. It can be very serious, potentially leading to dangerous arrhythmias or even sudden cardiac death. The standard method, including that specialized credible meds tool, identified 85 pDDIs carrying this risk.
85. Okay. And Chat GPT.
ChatGPT initially found only 8. Just 8.
8 out of 85. That's
Yeah.
huge. Massive gap.
It is. And even when the researchers specifically prompted it, saying check for QTC prolongation, it only improved to identifying 19. Still way short of the 85 found through standard means. That's a major safety concern.
Absolutely. Missing interactions like that could have devastating consequences. Were there other problems besides just missing things?
Yes, unfortunately. ChatGPT also made some pretty clear factual errors about basic pharmacology, how drugs are metabolized or absorbed.
Like what?
For example, it mixed up which enzymes metabolize certain drugs. It said rosuvastatin, a common cholesterol drug, was mainly processed by CYP3A4 when it's actually CYP2C9. Similar error with flecainide, an antiarrhythmic. These aren't obscure details. They're fundamental for predicting interactions.
So basic mistakes about how the body handles these drugs.
Right. It also suggested some absorption issues that aren't really supported by clinical evidence, like between mycophenolate mofetil and magnesium. Maybe it thought magnesium was an antacid, not just a supplement. Or between pantoprazole and metamizole, there's just no strong data for that latter interaction.
It sounds like it was. Guessing, almost. Or overgeneralizing.
That touches on a core issue. These large language models, they're probabilistic. They predict the next likely word based on patterns in vast amounts of text data. They don't understand pharmacology in a structured, rule-based way, like a dedicated CDSS, which is deterministic, designed to follow specific rules.
Which leads back to that consistency check you mentioned.
Exactly. And the results there were also quite concerning. When the researchers repeated the exact same prompts, ChatGPT gave inconsistent results, different numbers of pDDIs, or different specific interactions listed for 90% of the patients. 9 out of 10 times the answer changed.
90%. Wow, so you couldn't rely on getting the same answer twice, even with the identical question?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Now, often the differences might have been minor, maybe not clinically crucial in themselves, but that fundamental lack of reliability is a huge problem for clinical use. You need consistency you can trust.
That really undermines the idea of it being a dependable tool. So, critical flaws, factual errors, inconsistency. It sounds pretty damning.
It does highlight serious limitations for this specific high-stakes task.
But the study wasn't all negative, was it? Didn't it also show some areas where ChatGPT actually, well, shined?
Yes, and this is why the idea is still so compelling. Despite the flaws in DDI detection, it did perform well in other areas. For instance, when asked about specific side effects, a patient reported, like, feeling very tired in the morning.
What did it suggest?
It gave 26 recommendations across various patient queries, and the expert team judged 23 of those, that's 88%, as appropriate. And importantly, these results were consistent when the prompts were repeated.
Interesting. So it was better at responding to patient-reported symptoms?
It seemed to be, yes.
Yeah.
And beyond that, the user-friendliness aspect is undeniable.
How so?
Well, ChatGPT generated a quick, coherent overview of the patient's entire pharmacotherapy. That's potentially very useful. It also did a good job of grouping drugs by effect, like summarizing all the blood pressure meds and their risks together in one paragraph.
Instead of just listing pairs of drugs like the CDSSs might?
Exactly. That can simplify the analysis, make it easier to see the bigger picture. And the way it communicates. It provides more comprehensive, longer answers. One comparison mentioned it averaged 211 words versus about 52 from physicians in another study.
And potentially more empathetic language, too.
There's evidence for that, yes.
Huh.
A separate study found evaluators actually preferred ChatGPT's answers to patient questions for quality and empathy.
Yeah.
So the communication style is appealing.
And you mentioned it always advised consulting a professional.
Critically, yes.
Oh.
The study notes ChatGPT consistently included caveats, emphasizing that patients should talk to their doctor or pharmacist before changing any medications based on its output. It wasn't positioning itself as a replacement for professional judgment.
Okay, so there's this mix, serious flaws in core DDI detection, but definite strengths in user experience, communication, and handling some specific queries. What's the bigger picture here? Where does this leave us with AI in medicine?
Look, the appeal of using AI for pDDIs is still strong. The standard process with multiple CDSSs is cumbersome, it does generate noise, and it still needs significant expert interpretation.
So the problem AI is trying to solve is very real.
Absolutely. In theory, AI could maybe help screen the outputs of multiple CDSSs, reduce that variability, act as a kind of intelligent filter. That's a potential future role.
But Chat GPT itself isn't designed for that, right?
Correct. It's crucial to remember Chat GPT and similar LLMs weren't built specifically for medical diagnosis or DDI analysis. They're general-purpose tools. We don't always know exactly what data they were trained on or how current that data is.
So the potential is there, but the current tool isn't ready.
That's the conclusion of this study, based on the evidence from early 2025. ChatGPT shows promise as a platform. It does address some weaknesses of current systems, and that user-friendliness is a powerful factor for adoption. But for now, for this critical task of identifying potential drug interactions, its use cannot be recommended. It demonstrably failed to detect clinically important interactions, especially dangerous ones like QTc prolongation. It made clear factual errors, and it was inconsistent.
So the risks currently outweigh the benefits for this application.
Definitely. These limitations, identified in this snapshot of a rapidly evolving technology, they have to be addressed before systems like this can be safely and reliably used in routine clinical practice where patient safety is the absolute priority. Convenience just can't trump accuracy and reliability here.
So this deep dive really paints a clearer picture, doesn't it? AI, like ChatGPT, it's incredibly powerful, it's user-friendly, it offers these tantalizing glimpses of a future where complex medical info could be simpler to manage. But when you get down to brass tacks, for something as critical as potential drug interactions, especially the really dangerous ones, we're just not there yet. That need for precision, for consistency, for trust, it's still paramount for patient safety.
And this leaves us, and you, the listener, with a really important question to think about. How do we navigate this? As individuals, as a society, how do we handle AI's rapid advance into high-stakes areas like medicine? What's the responsibility of the developers to ensure these tools are safe and validated before they're deployed? And what's our responsibility as potential users or patients to understand the limitations and insist on that rigorous proof before we embrace them?